Welcome, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael Flecha. Welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk here on YouTube.com. As I'm with Anthony Florio and Dee Dee Woodson. Unfortunately, Michael Bullock is running a little late, but hopefully once he gets in, then we will get his thoughts and opinions on tonight's Smackdown Live. We're just going to dive right in, guys. We're not going to hesitate too much. Smackdown Live went down earlier this evening. Unfortunately, I missed the show due to the fact that I was working. So basically, Dee Dee Woodson and Anthony, you're basically going to be running the show on your own. So we're just going to dive right in, and we're going to start it off with a very fired up, emotional promo that was cut by The Miz, and it was then interrupted by Dolph Ziggler. Anthony Florio, you lead off.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Michael Flecha. And hello, friends. Anthony Florio here with you for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. Delighted to have you with us as always. And segment of the night for me, I mean, this was a very, very intense opening segment here. And the transference from Bryan to Ziggler seemed to go off without a hitch. Miz had mega heat by the end of the segment for walking away, and the crowd was firmly behind Ziggler. I found it pretty funny that he ripped Miz for putting up a facade that was easy to see through, as that's been a knock on him for ages now. But nonetheless, though, it was a very good opening segment. Like I said, this was my segment of the night based on the intensity of it. And later in the evening, it was announced by Daniel Bryan that The Miz will defend the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship against Dolph Ziggler at the Backlash event on September 11th on the WWE Network. So if you thought this segment was good, who knows? Maybe we could get an equally good match. We'll have to wait and see. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it came off what happened on the Talking Smack show last week when, The Miz and Daniel Bryan had that unforgettable moment, that heated confrontation, and you already know the story on that, so I'm not going to rehash too much into it. So, but for me, this was my segment of the night. Absolutely loved it. So, Dee Dee Woodson, your thoughts on this opening segment?
It was a really awesome segment. I loved how it went down. I do think, Miz struck out a couple of points from the fans' point of view by walking out, because of course they all repeated what Dolph was saying by calling Miz a chicken. So yeah, there's not much more to say about it other than that. This was the top segment of the night. So Fletch, it's yours.
All right, guys, and we're going to go right into it. The first fight of the night, quarterfinal match of the WWE Smackdown Tag Team Tournament. It was the Hype Bros going up against the Vaudevillains, the winners of the bout, and moving on to the semifinals. It was Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. Get hyped! The Hype Bros are off to the semifinals. Dee Dee Woodson, what did you think about this match?
I thought it was really well done. I'm glad to see somebody new getting a chance to get the titles. I mean, Vaudevillains, of course, are not one of my favorites, but, they're getting kind of old fast with because some of the stuff is just getting stale. But I really like this match. I'll give it 2 to 2.5 stars. It's yours, Florio.
Totally agree with the rating, Dee Dee Woodson. 2 to 2.5 stars is my rating as well. One of my fights of the night for sure. I mean, it was a brief but enjoyable tag match. The Vaudevillains are going nowhere in a hurry because their first gimmick with New Day basically blew out all the tires on their gimmick, and there isn't any going back at this point. So they move on, and they finally release the brackets, and I'm a little disappointed because I honestly thought it was going to be the American Alphas and the Usos for the championship, but they're on the same side of the bracket, so that means the American Alphas and the Usos are going to meet in one semifinal, and the Hype Bros are going to meet the winner of our second tag team match, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, which featured the return of one of the teams that we best knew from the Attitude Era. So I think that's pretty much ammunition right there. So so with all that being said, I'm thinking more like 2 stars really for the effort. So I think 2.5 is a little steep if I'm going to be real honest, but I think 2 is the best I can go. So nothing left to say here. MF, it's yours.
All right, guys. Then the next thing we had, well, this was actually a 2-for-1 deal. AJ Styles comes out, tries to cut a promo, gets interrupted by Apollo Crews, and we had a match between AJ Styles and Apollo Crews one-on-one. The winner of the bout was the phenomenal AJ Styles, the #1 contender for the WWE World Title. Anthony Florio, what did you think about promo and the match? 2-for-1.
Promo was great. I mean, I would say third best segment of the night, only because the promo was very brief. That's all I can say on that. And what happened was him and Apollo Crews had a backstage moment, and then when he came out, but the crowd though, the live crowd chanted for him, and he said the phenomenal one is here. Called himself the face that runs the place, the face that beats up John Cena, and the face that beat John Cena at SummerSlam. And he then said it would be the face that Dean Ambrose sees in his nightmares when he is crowned the WWE World Champion. And then Apollo Crews interrupts, and AJ had his music shut off, and he asked Apollo if he wanted to challenge him to another spelling bee. And then Crews said, "Hey, I went to Daniel Bryan, and I got permission to challenge you to a match, and it's going to happen right now." So, third best segment there. And as far as the match goes, I would have to probably say second best, maybe the second or third best fight of the night. I felt this was 2.5 stars, really. This was a solid effort, and Styles really sold well for Crews. It didn't feel like a squash, but at the same time, the conclusion never felt in doubt. Crews' biggest obstacle at this point is lack of character development. Once he has that nailed down, the sky is the limit for him. So it's basically a no big surprise. I mean, we all knew AJ was going to go over. You obviously want to give him as much momentum as you can going into the title bout at Backlash. So, like I said, solid 2.5 stars. It's one of my top fights of the night, absolutely. So, Dee Dee Woodson, your thoughts on all that?
I'll agree. It's 2.5 stars. It was a very good match, and yeah, the segment was a bit short, but if you add in the backstage segment, it kind of makes it a little bit longer. But yeah, the spelling bee part of it was kind of funny, where they're spelling out these just random words that they were talking about in the promo. So not much more to say about it. So Fletch, it's yours.
All right, guys. So then we had I'm going to skip this because I don't think it's going to be much, but there was an interview at the house of Heath Slater with Renee Young and with Rhino there, and somebody who it looked like a plant to me. I don't think this was Heath Slater's real life wife, but from what I heard, she was a little bit, I'll be as nice as I can be. She definitely had a Southern Belle look to her, but let's just say I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to get myself in trouble here tonight. But so we'll go separate. Do that as a separate thing. So no need for that. That's a skip over. But this cannot be skipped over. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo interrupted by Randy Orton. Dee Dee Woodson, this is all yours.
Oh, I love this one. Almost as this one for me would pretty much kind of tie the Miz and Maurice and Dolph segment to me, because I mean this was really good. Randy showed no fear to Bray Wyatt. Bray showed no fear to Randy. The match is set for the pay-per-view here in 2 weeks for Bray Wyatt to face Randy Orton, and this is going to be interesting to have the Viper facing, the self-proclaimed demon god here. So yeah, like I said, this was a really good segment. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the fact that Randy, was, like I said, showing no fear, matching Bray pun for pun. So, Florio, it's yours.
Well scripted promo segment here, absolutely. Second best segment of the night. Like I said, it was a well scripted promo segment. I'm very much looking forward to the match, but the outcome still feels like it could go either way, and I'm hoping this feud goes a few months because they need more material than this to work with. But nonetheless, though, I mean, it was a phenomenal segment. I'm not going to recap it word for word like Michael Bullock usually does, so that's all there is to say on that. So, well-scripted promo segment, second best of the night, and we knew this was a formality that we were going to get Orton and Wyatt at Backlash, and they made it official, good. We just got ourselves a top fight of the night contender for sure. We're looking at 3.5 to 4 stars easy based on their bodies of work. That's all there is to say on that. And like I said, the outcome could go either way. I really don't know who could go over at this point, so because they both really need it. I mean, Orton needs a big time win after what Lesnar did to him at SummerSlam, and Bray Wyatt hasn't had a big time pay-per-view win in I can't remember how long. So I feel bad for whoever has to book that, because whoever's in charge of booking the outcome of that fight, good luck to you, because they both really need it. So second best segment of the night, only because of the intensity of that opening segment with The Miz and Ziggler. So that's all I can say about that. So let's move on, MF.
The next thing we had, are you ready for some amazing women's action? Because, well, from what I've heard, we actually had some good action here tonight. Tag team match, Natalya and Alexa Bliss versus Naomi and Becky Lynch, with Nikki Bella at ringside. She was doing commentary with my man Mauro Ranallo, David Otunga, and JBL. And the winner of the bout was Alexa Bliss and Natalya. They get the victory, and let's just say a major brouhaha happened because the Princess of Staten Island basically five-borough'd Nikki Bella again. Third time this in a couple of weeks. She got five-borough'd taken out. And one thing's for sure, something that hasn't been glossed over. Have you guys been noticing on Twitter how Brie Bella has been very angry at Carmella? Whatever the case may be, Anthony Florio, it goes to you.
Yes, I have noticed that, Flex. Absolutely. Hint, hint. Could Brie Bella be coming out of retirement for one? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. I mean, it's very possible. But as far as this match is concerned, this is another one of my fights of the night. I could probably say this was my second best fight of the night. I mean, I'm going to give it maybe, I think I'm going to give it about 3 stars here, because I thought this was, a very solid women's tag team match with Alexa Bliss and Natalya going over Becky Lynch and Naomi. Once again, Becky Lynch takes a pin after getting distracted, which feels really cliche at this point. I get why they want there. I get why they went there in order to put over the unpredictability of a six-pack challenge. But you'd think Becky would have her head on a swivel at this point. But nonetheless, though, you already know we're gonna have a six-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Backlash, and I still feel that Nikki Bella's the favorite going in, even though Michael Bullock made that bold prediction about Carmella winning it. But who knows? But Alexa Bliss, I forgot to mention, how silly of me. Alexa Bliss, you know how she did it? She rolled up Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. As much as I love her, she was pulling the tights and getting the win. So that's how it happened, if you're wondering. So had to do it. So, but nonetheless, though, it was a very solid effort. Like I said, this was to me my second best fight of the night. I'm gonna give it about 3 stars for the effort. I mean, I thought all of them looked good. So, yeah. So, looking forward to that 6-pack challenge at Backlash. So, Dee Dee Woodson, our women's wrestling expert here. Did the girls impress you tonight, or what?
Oh yeah, this was a lot better than some of the ladies matches we've had in the past, and definitely very well done. Very impressed with each and every one of them. Not really impressed with the attacks that Carmella's doing, but of course Nikki made some good points. If you saw the pre-show where she said that this was a way that Carmella could make a name for herself, is to go after the returning formerly injured champion that they had. So very well done. I would think that Naomi and Becky would have won if Carmella wouldn't have come out to attack Nikki and kind of distract everybody, but it is what it is. I agree with the rating, the 3 stars. So, Fletch, it's yours.
All right, and we're going to move on to the next fight, which was the second and final tag team fight of the night. This was the 4th quarterfinal matchup for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship. It was the team of Rhino and Heath Slater going up against, to make their return in WWE for the first time in over a decade, it was Mosh and Thrasher. The Headbangers, they're back. Oh my. Well, one thing was for sure. We had the match, the winners of the bout going to the semifinals, and to fight the Hype Bros, it's going to be Rhino and Heath Slater. They win it. Dee Dee Woodson, it is all yours.
I guess they're one step closer to Slater getting his double wide. It was a solid match. For me, I'm going to give it 2 stars. I think the Dudleys returning the return that they just had is kind of what's bringing some of these other tag teams back in to make these special appearances. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid match. I'm surprised that Rhino and Slater worked so well together in this match, but yeah, it was a good match. So I'm going to toss it over to Florio.
What was that rating there, Dee Dee Woodson? What did you rate that fight?
2.
2? Yeah. All right. That's about what I had for this one as well. Headbangers looked all right and turned in a decent performance. I'm not sure if they'll get repeat invites back, but it was nice to see them for the nostalgia factor for one night, even if it seemed like they were there for the announced team to rip on. But nonetheless, though, excuse me, Slater and Rhino advance, and they will now go up against the Hype Brothers in the semifinals of the tag team tournament. I'll assume they'll probably do that next week, with that being the go-home show for Backlash, and then the winners, and then whoever wins that bout will go up against either the American Alphas or the Usos for the inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Championships at Backlash. And my initial thought on that really was either American Alpha or the Usos, but I'm starting to get this feeling that, why do I have this feeling that Slater and Rhino are actually going to go over? I don't know why, but we'll have to wait and see on this. But my honest prediction is, my gut prediction is telling me whoever wins the American Alpha Usos match next week, I think that's the team that's going to ultimately win the belts. So, but there's still that small part of me that is thinking Heath Slater and Reiner are going to win this thing. God help us all if that's the case. So, MF, it's on to the main event.
Well, before we got to the main event, there is a moment that I'm gonna have to bypass, but it needs to be addressed. We had this guy. I don't even know who the heck this idiot is. He was asking for a match, talking about getting an opportunity in WWE. Okay, fine, but then he dresses down all the way down to his stinking skivvies. I don't even know. I mean, okay, who is this moron? Why are you on my TV? And who the hell are you? And then, I mean, this is like a sumo wrestler going into a Chinese buffet. You ate my food. You scared my wife. You must go. Okay, get out on this. I mean, this guy was a moron. I don't even know who he is. Thank God Kane showed up, chokeslammed this jabroni out of his boots, whatever he was. Get him out of there. Next thing we know, we get the main event: Baron Corbin versus Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles at ringside. The winner of the bout via disqualification is Baron Corbin. Basically what happened was AJ Styles was looking to try to get a leg up on Dean Ambrose, but Ambrose ducked a Pele kick right to Corbin upside his head. Referee saw it right with his own two eyes. Bell time. Ring the bell. DQ ending. Anthony Florio, what did you think about the main event?
Main event. Well, all right. I'm glad you didn't have me comment on that Dinkelberg situation, because I was gonna go off if you hadn't had me do that. But good. Main event here. Even with the DQ finish, I gotta say this was my fight of the night here. I'm gonna give it about 3.25 stars for the effort, maybe 3.5. I mean, not as good as that epic main event we had last night on Monday Night Raw for the Universal Championship. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, like I said, we're going to be talking about that one for years and years to come. But if 20 years from now, if you ask me if I would remember this main event, I would say no. But it was fine for what it was, though. I mean, it's a fresh matchup. You know how I am about fresh matchups here. I mean, it's the first time meeting between these two, and it was very good for what it was. Some good action throughout, some good near falls. I don't like the DQ finish, but which has become which has become in the past a problem when it comes to the SmackDown side, and one of the reasons why Raw had always been better than SmackDown over the years before we started this brand extension. And to me, to sum it all up, it was a comedic end to the show, which felt like the wrong tone for this feud. Hopefully, this was just a one-time thing. Otherwise, the main event was solid. Corbin got a nice rub from being involved in the main event feud, and the match was very formula, Dean Ambrose for better or worse. They only have 1 week left to sell Styles and Ambrose, and next week needs to be deadly serious. So that's all I can say about it. So 3.25 to 3.5 stars. It is my fight of the night, no question about that. So, Dee Dee Woodson, your thoughts on the main event?
I'd agree on the rating, but as far as putting the word serious with Ambrose, I don't think that's going to happen, because even when he's serious, he's making jokes out of things. Very good match, lots of pinfalls, lots of back and forth. Just when you would think one was down, he would pop back up, and vice versa. Of course, I'm not a fan of the DQ finishes and the little cheap interference type stuff. So for that, I wasn't real thrilled about it, but you pretty much knew it was going to happen since AJ was right there at ringside during the whole thing. Um, but yeah, it wasn't something to write home about, but it was a pretty good match. And if you're wondering, the cat just bit Kevin's toes. So that's what the noise was in the background. So, Fletch, it's yours.
All right, guys. Open forum, overall review. Whoever wants to take it first, go ahead.
I guess I will. Solid show for what it was worth. Not the greatest, but still a solid show. Like the opening backstage segment with Shane and Daniel, showing a little dissension with each other, as far as what we talked about with the Miz on the blowing up on the post show for Smackdown. Most of the matches, were pretty solid. The still one of the biggest matches of the night had to be the girls tag team match, and all the segments were pretty solid. You still had some of the cheap stuff, like the interview with Slater and Rhino, which more than likely that was a plant in the house there. And as far as that unknown person with Kane, he was going by the name Milkman. And if he was a milkman, then I certainly wouldn't want him coming around my house if he's going to strip down like that. Especially with having kids in the house. That's not something you want anyone to be objected to. So for me, I'm going to probably give it about 6 stars. But it was a decent show. So I'm going to head out here, guys. So good night.
All right, good night, Dee Dee Woodson, and we'll
Good night, Dee Dee.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. So as far as the show goes, I agree with Dee Dee's rating. 6, maybe 6.5 out of 10. I mean, I would have to say, it was a bit of a draw this week. I mean, I thought both shows were even, if I'm going to be real honest with you. But I would have to give the slight edge to Raw only because of that epic main event, from last night. And the ending of it as well. But yeah, 6 to 6.5 out of 10. I think that's the correct rating for the show. Not as great as that awesome show we had a week ago. I mean, last week, oh my goodness, that was the show of the year. But this time around, it was pretty much back to reality this time around. Fight of the night, Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin. Second best fight was the women's tag team match with Becky Lynch and Naomi against Alexa Bliss and Natalya. Third best fight, I probably would have to go. Oh, I lost my train of thought, but those were definitely my top 2 fights of the night for sure. And just bear with me for a moment as I look over my my notes. What did I have as my third best fight? AJ Styles and Apollo Crews. That rounds out my top 3 for fights of the night. The tag team matches, not as good as last week. Of course, we had that unbelievable tag team match with the American Alphas and Breezango, which surprised the hell out of all of us. Sleeper fight of the year, by the way. And the Slater and Rhino against the Headbangers, I thought that was slightly better. By default, the worst fight of the night has to be the match with the tag match with the Hype Brothers and the Vaudevillains. Were very good, especially that opening segment. That was the one that did it for me. It was a very close second, and then that brief exchange with Styles and Cruz before their match. That was the third best because it was so short. But I'm not even going to get into that Dinkelberg nonsense. Don't even get me started on that. So that's as irrelevant as anything you can see. So that's all there is to say on that. 6 to 6.5 out of 10. A very fast and a very fast-paced SmackDown review. I mean, I don't know where Michael Bullock is. Hopefully, he'll be back in time. Otherwise, he's going to have to miss out on this. So, with all that being said, Fletch, it's time for your Mikey's Mindset already. Goodness.
All right, and we're going to get right into it. It started off with, I'm going to do Ring of Honor first, and it was Taylor and Lee going up against the War Machine. Taylor and Lee with a big victory there. Then we had what was a fatal four-way match. It was the Tough Tim Hughes, David Starr, Joey Durango, and Cheeseburger. They went at it. Well, the fight gets thrown out because BJ Whitmer debuted a new star to Ring of Honor. Punisher Martinez showed up, and boy, did he leave a trail of destruction in his wake. Fight of the night we had was the Cabinet against Dalton Castle and the Boys. The winners of the bout was the Cabinet, and in the main event, The Addiction, Frankie Kazarian and the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels went up against the Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. The winners of the bout and still Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Frankie Kazarian and the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. That is it for Ring of Honor. Now we go Mania 24. That's right. Triplemania was down in Mexico City, Mexico. This is one of their biggest events of the year, their WrestleMania event. And started out with a 12-man elimination matchup for the Triplemania Cup. The winner of the bout and the possessor of the cup, the Australian Suicide. He beats Draga. Those were the final two men in the match. Just to give you a little bit of some of the other guys that were in the match as well. Some people you may know, some people you may not know. La Parca, formerly from WCW. El Zorro, El Gato Torres, El Hijo de la Pama de la Pinata Morgan, Pipinera Escarlata. You actually seen her on Lucha Underground, folks. Mamba, Superfly, Hernandez, and Organas was in that as well. All right. So, the next fight we had was this was actually a intergender tag team match. The legendary Apache family, Fabi Apache and Mari Apache, goes up against Anaverno and Chessman. The fight gets thrown out. No contest. This fight was basically a throwout match. No winner in that. Now, the next fight we had was for the AAA World Tag Team Champions. The champions, El Atletico and Jack Evans. They put their titles on the line against Paul London and Matt Cross, El Hijo de Farmacia and Garza Jr., and Drago and Aerostar, formerly from Lucha Underground. The winners of the bout and new AAA World Tag Team Champions, Drago and Aerostar. They are the new champions. They won the titles for the AAA Latin America Championship. It was Pentagon Jr. He put the title on the line against Johnny Mundo, or John Morrison, for all you guys out there in WWE world. The winner of the bout and new AAA Latin American champion, Johnny Mundo. He wins the belt thanks to a little assist from Talia Vicarin. She interferes on Mundo's behalf to win the belt, and he is the new AAA Latin American champion. And then we had a very special match, a Lucha Underground 6-man tag team fight, and yes, the sexy Melissa Santos got to ring announce this one. It was Marty the Moth Martinez, the monster Matanza Cuerto, the reigning, defending Lucha Underground world champion, and the man of a million deaths, Mil Muertes, goes up against Rey Mysterio Jr., Prince Puma, and Dragon Azteca Jr., the winners of the match. Rey Mysterio, Prince Puma, and Dragon Azteca Jr. Next, we had was a three-way dance for the AAA Mega Copion. This is the World Heavyweight title. This is not the main event though, but this is for the Mega Copion. It was the champion, Tejano Jr. versus Dr. Wagner Jr. and the machine they call Cage. The winner of the bout, Still Triple I Mega Copion Tejano Jr. He wins the match. And in the main event, in the best 2 out of 3 falls, in a lucha de espratas, which means it was mask versus hair, it was Pagon goes one-on-one with Psycho Clown, the winner of the bout. It went the full distance. Psycho Clown gets to keep his mask, and Pagon loses his hair. That was the main event of the evening. All in all, it was not a great show. There was a lot of production issues with the show itself, and at the end, I can only give this a 4.5 out of 10. Even though some of the matches were good, like I said, there was a lot of issues with the feed. There was a lot of issues with the show itself. And unfortunately, it just did not deliver in the way that they were hoping for. All right, guys. So briefly on RWA, no matches have been announced. However, we do know a lot of the stars are going to be there. They just announced Brian Fury's going to be there. Brian Malonis, the Kingpin, is going to be there. They just announced the Middlesex Express are supposed to make their return this time around. How is that going to play out? The cool people are going to be there. And like I said, there's many matches that will be announced probably in the next couple of weeks, but tickets are still on sale right now. RWAWrestling.net. And for you guys out there, the show is going to go down Friday night, September 16th is the show. $10 for all you fans out there for general admission. If you guys want VIP, it's $15. You can get a cool poster and a seat wherever you want at the RWA Arena. Like I said, tickets will go fast. The show is over. Unfortunately, Michael Bullock is he's too late. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could give you better news, but the way the show went, it was very fast. But I will tell you this, it's going to get a lot better because next week, Lucha Underground makes its return to El Rey Network. So you're going to have a lot of Lucha Underground stuff coming up in the very near future. Until then, here it is. Thursday night, 10:30 Eastern. It's going to be the return of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. We're going to go through all of the top 25 matchups for you guys. So Anthony Florio will host that. No show on Friday because we're doing the fantasy football. Back again next Monday night, 10 at 11 o'clock after Raw goes off the air for another edition of Ridiculously Raw. So for Anthony Florio, for Dee Dee Woodson, in spirit, Michael Bullock, and Derek Ferreira, I'm Michael Flecha. You know the routines, everybody. Hugs and hand pounds. Have a good night, everybody. You've been watching the Cerebral Smack Talk on YouTube.com. Now, and have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye for now.